What's going on, people? It's your boy Mr. Porter, aka Porter the Plug, and in today's video we're talking about business communication. Communication skills are some of the most important skills that anyone can learn. Your ability to communicate, or lack thereof, can have a major impact on your professional and personal relationships. So what is communication and why is it so important? Communication in its simplest form is exchanging information. And although the definition might sound basic, it's actually a pretty difficult skill to master. Mastering the art of communication is so important simply because there's no other way for us to transfer our thoughts, ideas, and feelings from our minds to other people. I mean, we can't just stare at each other and magically understand what the other person is thinking. What? Sorry. Communication is a process, a very complex one. But because we communicate so naturally, we don't always think about the different steps in the process and if what we're trying to say is what we actually communicate. But in order to be a master communicator, you have to master every part in the communication process. The communication process has both a sender and a receiver on opposite sides. But what happens in between those two people is what contributes to either the success or the failure of communication. The process of communication starts with thought. The sender has to think about what they're going to communicate before they send the message. This process is known as encoding. Encoding is the process of turning thoughts into communication. The sender then chooses a medium. A medium is how the information is transmitted from the sender to the receiver. Now the message travels through the medium and is received by the receiver. Once the message is in the possession of the receiver, they have to decode the message. Decoding is the process of turning communication into thoughts. This may be the most important part in the process, and this is typically where communication breaks down. In order to decode a message, the receiver has to actively listen to the sender. Active listening is intently focusing on what a person is saying. The receiver interprets the message and then encodes feedback. Feedback is a message sent by the receiver. The receiver then chooses a medium to return a message to the sender decodes it, and then the process starts all over again. Communication is not always successful. Sometimes there's barriers to communication that block the message from getting to the receiver, or there's noise that interferes with the delivery of the message. Successful communication takes place when the intended message is delivered to the receiver through the right medium. So now if we understand communication, what is business communication? Business communication is exchanging information between people inside and outside of an organization. Business communication can be external or internal. External communication is any message that leaves your organization. For example, communication with customers, suppliers, or investors. Internal communication is any message that is exchanged within the organization. For example, communication between two coworkers, a manager and their subordinate, or between departments. Now, how we communicate in business is always changing with the advances in technology, but here are some of the most commonly used communication mediums in business today. Although technology gives us many alternatives, face-to-face communication is still a dominant medium of communication in business. This is direct communication between two people or a group of people in person. This can look like meetings, a sales pitch, or presenting at a conference. This can include both verbal and nonverbal components. Verbal communication is the use of spoken words to convey a message. These are the things that we say. Nonverbal communication is the use of body language, gestures, and facial expressions to convey information to others. These are the things that we do that say something. Next is written communication. Written communication is the use of written words to convey a message. This can be email, blogs, letters, memos, books, and many more. There's also visual communication. This is the use of graphical representations or visual aids to convey a message. What this looks like in business is graphs, logos and branding material, and also images that convey a message. And finally, there's digital communication. This is the use of online tools to exchange information. In business, the biggest example of this would be social media, but there's countless other ways that we communicate online. As technology continues to shape our everyday lives, it'll definitely continue to shape the way we communicate. Now, there's a million things that you can learn how to do, and YouTube is a great place to do that. But the more you learn how to communicate, the more you increase your value. I really hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you learned something new. I'll see you in the next one.